Hello, my name is Rob Garner. I'm a computer programming instructor, and today I'm going to talk about how to deploy a Unity game using WebGl. So the first thing you need to do is make sure that you have the WebGl workload installed on your editor installation. You can do this by going to Unity Hub, going to Installs, Add Modules, and in here you can select what types of modules you want to use. And I'm using WebGL to build a web application, basically. And when you select that, you can click Install, and it will install it for you. Then once you've built your game, what you'll need to do is go to your build settings, select the levels and scenes that you want. You'll open up the scenes and add open scenes. They will show up here. Select WebGL as your platform. You can set other things in here. The ones that I needed to set for sure, though, was in my player settings. Everything worked as is. You can set your company name, and there's a lot of optional things in here. For example, you can set up an icon. Other settings, you'll want to, well, actually these were all stayed the same. You could set up a splash image if you wanted to, but the one thing that I had to do was disable compression format. There's the option to use Brotli and gzip. You have to configure this on your web server. The service provider or the hosting provider that I have doesn't make it easy to do this, so I just disabled it. My game was not that large to begin with, so I felt it was fine to disable it. If I need to worry about it later on, I might enable that and then try to work with my provider to figure out how I can do that. And the rest I left with the defaults, so that worked out fine. I did have one other issue when deploying, and that was I had to set the MIME type for one of the folders. So when you deploy your application, and what I did is under my main project, I created a folder called deployment and just had it deploy there. Under build, there's this deployment.data file, and in my case, my hosting provider does not have that MIME type defined. To define it, I went to my domain, and under hosting and DNS settings and IIS settings, this may be different depending on whether or not you're using an IIS server or an Apache server, but somewhere in your service, if I can get this to open up, you'll have MIME types defined. And for this data file, I had to define it. Let's see if I can find it. Right here. Application octetstream.data. So I had to set it as application octetstream.data. I had to add that to my MIME types. in order for the server to be able to serve up that file. If you don't do that, what happens is you will run the application and it'll say can't find this deployment.data file. And that's because without the MIME type defined, the server will not serve up that file. So we have to add that in here so that the server knows how to serve up that file. JS files and WASM files, generally most servers already have those defined. But again, if you can't find them, you might consider checking the MIME types. That might be what's missing. And so when you deploy, you're going to get this index.html file. If we look at that, actually, yeah, after I set that, going back to the game, to deploy, you just click build, and that will build, and it will ask you where you want to deploy it. In my case, I just made an extra folder under the root folder of my game, and just put it there, mostly so that this would be put into source control because I've configured Git to deploy my game automatically. So I need that to be in the Git folder. So the build goes in there, and that's ends up being this file here. And Unity gives you an index, a web page here. If we look at this web page, it's basically a canvas. If we look, yeah. So we have this div, which is the Unity container, and this Unity canvas here is where the game will end up being loaded into. And then it also has a number of scripts. Let's see. Yeah, so it has a bunch of scripts that are set up in order to run the game in WebAssembly. So this is a WebAssembly application. And we can see here, this reference to WASM. So Unity will build all of this for you. And what you can do is, this is really just a template for you to use. You could take this code and embed it in your own website and make it, maybe make this a page on your website or embed it inside of an existing one. Maybe if you're using a component library, you could turn this into a component. I do .NET web development, so I could turn this into a Blazor component. If you're using any other JavaScript component libraries, you could do that there as well. And once you have that component built, you would probably just leave this alone, and then you would just need to deploy this build and template data stuff. And template data, let's see, what do we have in here? This is mostly, even this might be things that once you put it in the main website, you don't need to change, and you would just change this build folder. But for now, I'm uploading this, and the way I'm doing that is in my website. Under dashboard, and plus it gives us the ability to deploy with Git, and you can, when you have the option to add a repository, you go to your GitHub repo and get the URL to the repo, put that in here, give it a name, and you can choose to either do automatic, manual, or disabled. Where you want this to deploy. Now, in my case, this is a little bit more complicated because we don't really deploy the entire application. If we look at this folder, well, this is the whole tool project for the Unity project, but for the website, we really only need this. So what I discovered is you can customize your deployment, and in this server environment. And so what I did is, rather than deploy it to the actual place where the folder which is used to serve up the website, I put it into a temporary folder, essentially. I just called Suncat Adventure Deployment. And then I added some additional actions, and using batch file coding, I deleted the existing directory which serves up the web page, which is this one, suncatadventures.emw.net. So if it existed, I deleted that. And to remove the directory, basically, I did a remove directory command /s so that it would cascade out all the subdirectories and put in this directory, the web server directory. I did an echo y here and piped it into that, so that this has when you do remove a directory, it asks you to confirm yes or no. If you put echo y and pipe it in, that will send that yes answer to that and automatically do it. So this deletes the directory. Then I recreate the directory so that it's empty. And then I used xcopy to copy the just the deployment subfolder, which is just this thing here. So under Suncats, I just want this folder to go to the server folder. And then and so that went to so I copy that deployment piece to the web server, and there's some additional switches here to include all the subdirectories and everything and the files. And so this copies this over, and once that's done, then my deployment is complete. I could probably also just delete right immediately my deployment folder. Once I get confidence, I'll probably add that in, since it's just copying it over from, that way I don't have that extra copy on the server. But once that happens, then all I have to do is in GitHub, as soon as I merge into the main branch, then this build will be triggered and this deployment folder will be pushed onto the server. One of the things you need to do when you do that is under settings, you need to set a web hook, and in here they give you the URL for the webhook, so you just copy that. You add a webhook and you copy that in there, and that webhook will, whenever that build happens, will trigger a new build. So anytime I make a change, as soon as I merge it into main, it'll kick it out to the game. And then you will get your game on the web page, and you can publish a Unity game to the website. Now this game is kind of rough right now. We just started building it. This will be this is actually a level where you'll be able to go and play a bunch of mini games that my students are building, and when you walk into an area, I'll switch over. So here we just moved into another level, but that that is how you can deploy your game. So thank you very much.